Today is a really big day for AMD, and actually, it's a really big day for all PC gamers and content creators and everybody who loves high-performance processors. Today is all about Ryzen. You remember when we first talked about Ryzen, we said we are going to increase the instructions per clock by 40%. That was our ambitious goal. Some people said we couldn't do it. Some people said it was a paper study. Well, I'm very proud to tell you today, for the first time, we not only beat the goal, we beat it by a lot. The Ryzen performance in instructions per clock is over 52%. We've told you our brand name is Ryzen. Our overall brand is called Ryzen. We will call the 8-core 16-thread version Ryzen 7 last year. And those were in engineering mode. But those were running at base clocks of 3.4 gigahertz. The production version of that processor is now called the Ryzen 7 1700X. This guy runs at 3.4 gigahertz base. It boosts up to 3.8 gigahertz in boost mode, running at 95-watt TDP. And I can tell you, this guy is great for gamers and for content creators. So I'm going to show you just a couple of benchmarks. We actually beat the 6900K, a $1,000 processor, with our Ryzen 7 1700X. And if you actually compare it against the next guy, which is the 6800K, we actually beat the 6800K by 39% in Cinebench multi-threaded, because we have 8 cores, 16 threads. So that's a heck of a lot of performance. So sitting underneath the 1700X is the Ryzen 7 1700. This guy is the highest performance 8-core, 16-thread at 65 watts. Very, very nice. And then on top of that, we have our flagship CPU, which is the Ryzen 7 1800X. The 1800X has a base clock frequency of 3.6 gigahertz. We really looked at how do we tune this processor technology, and it brings the boost all the way up to 4 gigahertz. And we're watching to see which one of these finishes faster. What we see is Ryzen 7 1800X on the right, going head-to-head against Intel 6900K. And as you guys know, we're rendering one of these complex 3D models. We have a couple more seconds to go. It's tight, but you can see it, as this completes, the 1800X finishes faster than the 6900 by about 9%. So this actually says, I can say today, that the Ryzen 7 1800X is the fastest 8-core desktop processor in the market. Now, multi-threaded performance is very important, and we do love more cores and more threads, but I also want to show you single-threaded performance, because that is also important. So if you run the same Cinebench demo in single-threaded performance, you'll see it's actually roughly a tie. So 1800X roughly ties the 6900K in terms of single-threaded performance. And note that this is sort of in a stock system. If you run it with a fancier motherboard and with XFR and maybe with some other overclocking going, you might even find your 1800X beating the 6900K. We want to make 8-core processors accessible to everyone. You're going to see some of the applications that can use all of these cores and all of these threads. So in this case, we compare the Ryzen 7 1700 versus the Core i7 7700K, the latest Kaby Lake processor. No question that they have higher frequency, but we have more cores and more threads. And when you run that in Cinebench multi-threaded, we beat the competition by a lot. What you're seeing here is actually a gaming demo showing the new Sniper Elite 4. And both systems are actually using our dual Radeon RX 480s in Crossfire. On the left-hand side, you see Intel 6900K. On the right-hand side, you see Ryzen 7 1800X. You can also see the frames per second in the upper right there. You can see both are running about mid-70s or so. The demo we're using in this case is Handbrake. And this is a baseline conversion of a 4K 60 frame per second file, converting to a 1080p 30 frames per second file. And what you see on the left is Intel, and what you see on the right is Ryzen 7 1700. And remember, content creation, this stuff loves more cores and more threads. And you can see Ryzen, 61.8 seconds. My other friend's not finished yet. And the competition at 71.8 seconds. That's 10 seconds faster. And by the way, many of our ecosystem partners are here in the audience today. But for the end user, the most important point is you guys have choice. There's incredible choice for the AM4 ecosystem. Every major motherboard vendor has an AM4 Ryzen platform. We will have more than 82 motherboards at launch. This is our best ecosystem ever. Let me talk to you about the Ryzen pricing. We start first with the 1800X. Our competition is priced at $1,000. AMD Ryzen, $499. Going to the 1700X. Our competition is priced at $425. 1700X is priced at $399. Low power, multi-threaded, very high performance, 46% over the 7700K. Our competition is at $350. We will retail at $329. We go on shelf worldwide, hard launch March 2nd. But what I want to tell you today is the best starts now. We are launching Ryzen Desktop on March 2nd on plan. We have Radeon Vega and Radeon Instinct that will be available in the second quarter. We have Naples for the data center that will be available in the second quarter. And we have Ryzen Mobile also with the Zen CPU core in the second half of the year. Thank you.